This video is sponsored by Sunday.
So guys, on this episode of Restored, we're picking back up on the 1965 Ford F100. If you guys don't remember this truck, well, we literally had to dig it out of its grave where it had been sitting for over 50 years. Golly, this thing was so buried up. Once we were able to get the truck back to the shop, well, we dug in up underneath the hood and found one of the biggest rat's nests we've ever seen in our lives. Every time we get something, I say it's the top one, but this one right here takes the cake. If that don't make matters worse, once we got inside the engine, it was completely stuck and every bit was rusted or broken and just falling completely apart. I don't know about this. So we just continued to dig in deeper and deeper into her, and after a ton of hours and a lot of prayer, well, she finally come back to life for us. Now seeing this old girl up and running and the story she has behind it, we couldn't think of anything better that we'd want to jump onto and make a super cool shop truck out of. So we're just going to get her back inside, pick back up where we left off, and let this story continue to live on. Still hard for me to believe this thing's running as well as it is.
Yeah, it shouldn't be running at all.
Only God on that one, that's for sure.
When we first tore into this vehicle and that, deep down, I felt like there was no hope for it. I thought, well, we'll get into it. We'll get down to a certain point. If it does run, it's not going to run very good. But lo and behold, the thing it runs really great. Probably one of the best running vehicles we have that we've restored.
So for me, this truck is really special just because of the story behind it. I just felt like there was no way this truck was going to run. So for me in my life personally, it has helped build up my faith and trusting in God that all things are possible. So God knew more than me on it. So we continued to press on, and He showed me and He showed the world that it's never too late.
I'd like for us to be able to take this truck and shorten the bed down. A lot of people don't like the long beds and that, and I'm one of those people. So I'm hoping that maybe we can put some logos on the side, something to do with digging it out of the ground or something like that. Just something that fits this truck and gives it its own personality. Looks like this whole thing may have been in the water. Got an oar and everything.
Maybe. It's maybe why it's so rough.
Several people comment that this thing had been submerged in water. The best thing for it would be a boat anchor or something like that. So when I came across the boat oar, I thought it was really ironic that everybody commenting that this thing had been submerged in water, and here we have a boat oar to kind of show that was a possibility.
You never really know what you're going to find in these old trucks, but I definitely feel that the previous owner was a cowboy. We're seeing some old cowboy boots. I even found an old whip in there.
Indiana Jones.
Don't work. None of this stuff is really salvageable at all, but you can definitely tell that at one point in time, this was someone's old workhorse here that they basically took care of the farm with every day. This seat ain't much count. I don't know if we'd be better to go ahead and pull it out of here.
Probably so.
It ain't worth saving, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's shot.
It's got it. I guess I'll just come on through with it.
Ready?
Anywhere works for me. It was really hard to even tell that there was a seat in this truck when we started on it, so we definitely need to remove the skeleton of what's left here, get it out, possibly get it recovered, because this thing is just not anything we're going to want to keep in this truck. Looks a lot better.
Yeah.
What is all that mess?
Pretty sure it's sulfur, the way it tasted. I breathed in enough of it that it was...
That ain't good.
There was some yellow powdery stuff in the floorboard and that. I assume it was probably sulfur. Don't know that for a fact.
I know Dad kept saying it was sulfur, but almost to the point to where it was repetitive, like he was a little bit unsure and trying to convince himself as well. I don't think you're confident that it's sulfur because you keep saying that's what it is. Yep, sulfur.
I'll just say I think it's sulfur. No, it's sulfur.
See?
whatever it was, we've got it cleaned up and we'll just move on from there.
All right, guys, so we pretty much got the inside cleaned up the best we can for what I would call the first clean anyways. In here on the floor pans, they're not in too bad a shape, but you can tell down here on those rockers, starting to get a lot of rust through there as well on the bottom of the door. So we'll have to come back later and address that rust issue, but right now we have other plans as far as just wanting to make this truck into a short bed truck. Once we get that all done, we can come back and do any kind of sheet metal work that we'd like to, but for right now, mark a couple things off the list and come back later for the rest. Now also on the inside of the truck here, I don't know if you guys remember, but the first time that I drove it, I could only get it to shift into reverse and third gear, I believe. So we're gonna have to address this column here, probably replace it or tear into it, just find out what the situation was on it. It's not making it shift right and get it to shift into the gears the way we want to. Now on the outside of the truck here, the main thing that we're wanting to do is to get rid of this awful bed gap as well as the wrong GMC bed on here. So as you can tell, it has a really cool fleet side bed from basically a 58, 59 model on here. The body lines match up kind of close here across that height-wise, but not so good right there. So we're gonna have to try to find us a period correct bed on this. I wanna go with a fleet side bed and not a step side. So sometimes that can be a little bit of challenging, but get this bed off here. I believe we can probably sell this bed to almost pay for the new Ford bed that will be going on there next. Now with our wheels here, we put those on the last episode. So I found these wheels just off of Marketplace and only got 400 bucks into them. So the tread's actually really good on them. There's no dry rot. They've got a really cool look. So I'm happy with our wheels. We'll go with these wheels. Now we may change the stance of the truck later on, drop it a few inches, but for right now, once again, mark a few things off the list and then move on to the next ones. Up underneath the hood here, if you guys remember, or if you guys haven't seen, this was completely packed full with rat's nest, squirrel's nest, whatever you want to call it, and this had to be the worst shaped engine I've ever seen in my life. So we've got it running, we've got it cleaned up and painted just with a little spray paint job. I think we might come back here on the engine compartment, just put a little semi-gloss paint in there to clean that up as well. We'll probably have to come through here, upgrade our brakes, our master cylinder. But yeah, so pretty much that's got it. That's the game plan. We're just gonna have to get it on the lift next, check it out up underneath. We're not really sure if we're gonna be able to cut this frame down and make it a short bed, or if it's just sitting the ground too long and it's rusted away and we need to look for another frame. So get it on the lift, make a game plan, and just move on to the next step from there.
My expectations as we start to lift this thing up is that the frame is really going to be rusty. I think that everything underneath is probably going to be rusted up, stiff, just really bad shape.
Yeah, I guess this is the first time we've ever really seen up underneath her, huh?
Yeah, it's not as bad as you would think for something that's been buried.
Old bushings are shot.
Yeah, they're shot, but yeah. But it was, I mean, it was buried up to the frame for sure.
Oh, it's worse back here though. We've got some rust coming through this frame rail right here.
Oh yeah.
Even worse over here though. Golly, right there where we've got that
cross member up there, right
here.
Yeah, that's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if we was to cut this down. I think he'd be in this section right here, but that ain't gonna fix that spot right there. We still have some rust on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not start patching up a frame. Anytime you find rust through on the frame part of a vehicle, that's no good. Now we would be cutting a section out to shorten this frame, but where we're seeing the rust on this one, we're not gonna be touching that area. So a person would have to go back, patch in that spot right there, but you're already looking at some more work you're gonna have to be doing to it, so I just really don't know if it's worth it. Golly, look at all that. Still got all the dirt.
Oh yeah.
Where it was stuck. I mean, you can tell this axle was completely in the ground.
Yeah. After looking at the frame, I think that we could go ahead and repair it, but it's in really bad shape. I think our best option is to go ahead and try to find something that's already ready for us to go with.
I don't know if this frame is something we want to mess with or just try to find another one, because you're going to have to rebuild all this front end anyways. every little bit and piece on it's gonna have to be replaced. And the likelihood of us actually finding a factory short bed frame is extremely rare, so we really just gotta weigh this out, make an important decision of what's gonna make the most sense for us to move forward in the end. Finding a short bed frame is sure enough gonna be hard, but we can maybe go with another long bed frame and then cut it down and maybe something that has a rear end that's in a little bit better shape. I just knew that we were gonna have to go with a long bed frame at this point, and after spending several hours on the internet just searching around our area, lo and behold, we found a short bed frame that's only 10 miles from the house. So we'll wanna go over there, check it out, see what kind of condition it is, but I definitely think it's gonna be a great saving point of time to help us move forward on this project. Think it'll work?
I think it'll work.
It's kind of bent up there though, ain't it?
Yeah. But
probably get the porta power in there.
So say better up there than in here.
Got new bushings on everything. Looks like new kingpins on the front. Looking this frame over, I have to say that I'm amazed at the condition it's in.
There is one spot on the frame that's a little twisted, but I don't think that's going to be an issue.
I think this is the perfect frame for this truck. Let me grab a jack and let's get a wheel on that thing and get it up on here.
I'm thinking that this new frame is going to save us a considerable lot of time and effort and work that we just don't have to spend on it.
For what we're getting, a person would normally spend quite a bit of cash, but we were able to pick it up for a pretty good bargain. So we're definitely going to head back to the shop and just start tearing apart the old truck so we can start switching and marrying the two back together. So guys, real quick, we'd like to take a minute to thank the sponsors of this video, being Sunday. If you've never heard of Sunday, they're a really cool company that specializes in subscription-based lawn care. And if you guys are like me, well, there's nothing better than a good-looking yard. If you're curious of how this works, you simply go to their website, type in your address, and you'll have a customized lawn care plan in seconds. Everything is shipped directly to your door. You simply attach the ready-to-use nutrient pouches, and in just 15 minutes, you're done. For years now, I've been trying to keep up with a healthy yard, but now with the help from Sunday, I'm no longer wasting money on products that weren't doing anything in the first place. By sending in their easy-to-use soil analysis, they're able to determine exactly what your yard needs to make it flourish to its full potential. So if you guys are interested, head to getsunday.com/restored and get 20% off with the code RESTORED20. Now let's get back to the show. You think go ahead and pull this front clip off, or?
I hate to, but I think it'll be better in the long run.
Yeah, I don't know if when we're lifting the cab up, if we leave it on there, it may be a little front heavy and try to tip off on us.
That's my concern, and then we're looking for a front clip.
Really didn't want to have to take this front clip off, but we were afraid of once we tried to lift the cab up with our lift, it might be just a little bit too front heavy and try to flip forward and cause a lot of damage. So we'll go ahead and try to get this removed. I don't think it'll be too terrible. It's just finding those bolts, getting on those bolts, and hopefully getting them removed. Probably still need to drain that radiator.
Yeah. Get a bucket here.
Take off our handy dandy fuel tank here.
Could have thought we had to remove the fuel tank to
take off the front clip.
Take off the front clip. The front clip of a vehicle is going to include your hood, your fenders, and the grill. Normally removing it doesn't take that long. It's not that big a job, so it should go fairly fast.
Ooh, a lot of dirt coming out of that. Probably a good thing we're pulling it off. Get
Probably
that cleaned up. Gotta be something holding it up top here.
A lot of times when you're laying up underneath these vehicles that have been buried in the dirt, you reach up to loosen something off, and it will give you a dirt facial. I mean, that dirt will just fall right in your face, and there's nothing you can do about it but just spit dirt and try it again and that.
There's piles of dirt on top of some of these mounts that you can't even see the bolt. So once you dig through 3 or 4 inches of dirt, you can finally get to the head of it just to find out that rust and Mother Nature has destroyed the head of the boat. I think the heads are all rusted out on them anyway.
The heads are really bad shape.
Trying to see if I can get a sawzall in there somewhere. Sometimes you just gotta cut them loose. I mean, you never really know what you're gonna get into till you get into it.
I have a feeling that Lance is not really enjoying taking his front clip off and that. It's fought him, I think, twice as hard as it's fought me.
Once you start getting hot and aggravated and messing with these old vehicles sometimes, it seems like nothing wants to go your way after that point. So fighting this bumper, trying to get it off, I needed a good braking point, but I didn't realize it was going to be actually me breaking a ratchet and flipping over backwards. Whoa! I don't know if it broke or I think I did. I think I did though. I have to laugh at myself at times like that because it brings me back to reality of just have fun with the thing. So we'll get back started on it. I'm definitely going to cut that one off now and move on to the next. You got it if I try to grind this?
Yep.
There we go.
You mean we've been working on the wrong boat?
Whew, at least she's off now. That's too much work. The front clip definitely took a little longer than what I expected, so moving forward, I'm hoping that the cab's not going to be as bad. But once we get in there, we can just start messing with it just to find out. If it puts up half the fight that the front clip did, I'll definitely be happy. So now that we've finally got this front clip off the truck, you can tell there's a whole lot of rust that began on the front of the frame here. So I'm glad we're taking the approach of just going ahead and trying to find a different frame anyway. So what we're going to do now is just try to undo what looks to be about 4 body mounts on the cab. We'll have to undo the steering, the shifting linkage, some brake lines, a little bit of electrical stuff, and then hopefully we can go ahead and just use our lift to lift the body up off here. Then we'll get the frame outside and try to pull the motor off of it from that with the forklift or something.
Now that we've got this new frame back here at the shop, it looks a lot better than the old frame that we took out.
Now there is a little bit of work we'll have to put into it where the front frame rails bend a little bit, but not near amount of work it was going to take to cut down a long bed frame. That thing's been in pretty good, ain't it?
Yeah.
I bet someone backed into it sitting out there.
Probably so. Yeah, you can tell a little damage there and right there mainly. So.
Yeah. I don't know if we can get a porta-power across here. Maybe get some measurements from that other frame.
Yeah.
We want to be sure that the bumper fits back right.
Yeah.
You can tell it's inwards, but it's also twisted a little bit, you know, that
Down.
way.
Yeah.
So.
Lance seems to think that we can take the porta-power, stick in here at an angle, and just put a little pressure on that, and hopefully it'll push out in that. I think if we can get it against something solid on the opposite side of the frame, it'll push on out and twist itself back into the shape it needs to be.
Definitely going to have to get all the new tie rod ends and tie rods and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and this probably needs some attention of some sort. It looks like it's rusted out and made big, yep.
I bet we'll have to pull one off that other frame if it's
That'd be the easiest.
better shape. Everything else though, I mean, I think they were replacing. This old frame's in pretty good shape. You can tell someone had been messing with it at least within the last couple years. Now there is a little bit of work we'll have to put into it where the front frame rails bend a little bit, but having the new bushings up front, the new kingpins, I definitely think it's going to save us a lot of time. I'll go out there and get some measurements on that other frame, get that porta-power in there and straighten that up. And then I think we can just start prepping it for paint. Being able to get this porta-power in the area we need to, it should be strong enough to push the rail. We'll just kind of have to finesse out some of the dent with the hammer. Just take it slowly. You definitely don't want to over push it and then have to try to pull it back. So we'll just push it out a little bit, take some measurements, make sure everything looks right. And then once we finally get it dialed in, we'll just move on to the next step. Oh yeah.
That's pretty easy.
I'm gonna pump it while I smack it around a little bit. And try to get that spot there.
Need to keep going.
No, I'll just hold it right there. Might let that off and just see what we measure here. All the pressure off?
All the pressure.
31 3/8. That's pretty stinking close. This rail straightened out a lot quicker and a lot easier than what I expected it to be. I mean, we're within about an 1/8 inch of the original measurements of that frame, so not exactly sure if the original frame was perfect, but once we get the new bumper up there mounted in place, we'll know how everything fits after that point. I think maybe try to massage that out a little bit more, but even on that side it ain't quite right.
Right.
It needs to be hammered down. As long as we're straight and we're not twisted anymore right there, I think that'll work. That was way easier than it should have been.
One of the things that we noticed after we got it up here to the shop was that one of the cab mounts on the front was rusted out in the center of it and that.
We're gonna go ahead and steal one off the other frame if it's in a little bit better shape, switch it over, and that'll just allow that new bushing to fit in place so we don't have any movement right there and make everything fit a lot better. We're gonna have to come in and put new brakes around the whole frame on this truck, but right now we just wanna go ahead and get it outside and try to freshen up this paint on it. All right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and have you prep this thing for paint.
Okay.
We'll take a pressure washer, see how that paint's flaking off in all these little, basically everywhere.
Right.
So just take the pressure washer and hit everything, be sure you're getting all the crevices good.
Bob mentioned a few spots that needed to be washed off to try to get some of this flaky paint off. I'm noticing a lot on this frame.
Around the edges and nooks and crannies, the paint's beginning to flake there. We'll need to be sure we concentrate on those little areas, get all that flaky paint out of the way, because we don't want it to come back and flake on us later. Yeah, just wash it up real good, and then I'll go ahead and probably get you started on painting the firewall and the engine compartment on the front cab there, but we'll paint this probably with the paint gun and those with some rattle cans.
Cool. So I'm a little bit OCD. I actually enjoy trying to get as much paint as I can off.
I believe if we would have left her out there long enough, we'd have come back and there'd have been no paint at all left on the frame. So she's doing a great job. It's cleaned up nice. It'll be exactly what we need to move on to the next step.
I know in this one they kind of paired me up on washing this frame, but they also mentioned something about maybe spray painting a little bit of the inside parts. I know I would be pretty excited to do that. I've spray painted just a handful of things around the shop, so spray painting something big like this is definitely going to be a new experience for me.
I think what we're going to go ahead and do is just paint this from here down, because I'd like to leave a little bit of patina up top to blend on the outside. But
Okay.
get some of these old parts off. We're going to be replacing this master cylinder and the steering column anyway, so on both those, and just Scotch-Brite, you know, get some of the loose paint and get it cleaned up.
Yep.
If you can get that all kind of cleaned up, me and Dad will start messing with that front clip, get it tore down, and probably paint them together anyways.
Yeah, sounds good.
Have any problems, just give me a holler and I'll try to help you the best I can.
Okay, I will. So Dad and Bub are usually the ones who take the parts off this thing. I was ready to paint, but I wasn't so sure that I would be great on the hands-on of taking parts off. I struggled a little bit, but at the end of the day, I got it done.
I'm kind of dreading pulling this front clip apart where we can basically just paint the fender wells and the radiator support. It seems like a lot of work for something that we're not even looking to be completely perfect anyways. I guess we'll have to pull all these fender well bolts out. I mean, a pretty good chore just to disconnect it, ain't it?
Yeah, I think so.
We could probably go ahead and take, if we wanted to leave them connected, just pull the grill out and then try to paint down in there the best we can. The bolts on the front of this thing are going to be just like the rest of them, rusted, and who knows what it's going to take to get them out. Typically, I don't like to cut a lot of corners. I'm more of a perfectionist when it comes to things, but at this point, there's got to be a little bit better way of something we could work around here.
What if we left this like it is, and then just come in and actually just do the fender wells there?
Talking about just leave patina on the
patina
outside?
where when you look in, you still see the patina.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, that's gonna be real black in there.
Yeah. I bet we could. Just reverse mask tape there, paint the inside of these, tape them off, and just leave that.
Yeah,
It'd probably look better anyways, huh?
Yeah, and you'll still have that clean all around the engine.
Right. Yeah, let's do that. That'll save us a lot of work anyways, for sure.
It's not often I have a great idea or anything like that. I'll always throw an idea out there. It's not always great, but I'll take the wins as I get them.
So basically all we need to do is take off wiring, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Get it ready for paint. Cool. Yeah, good idea. Save us a little time. Main objective here is to get new paint to stick. There's going to be some funky textures up underneath the black that's not going to look perfect, but we're okay with that. So we want to be sure we get everything cleaned, everything Scotch-Brite really well. That way when we tape it off and apply the paint, it's there to stay. We've had Christian paint a handful of things around the shop here, but for the most part they've been like suspension parts that go underneath the vehicle that you really never see again. I'm a little fearful that possibly she might get some runs in it. That's a big area that you're having to cover up with paint, but she seems pretty confident in it, and I guess if that happens we'll just mark it off as character.
He keeps saying he doesn't want it to be perfect, but he also wants it to look good, so honestly, I don't know what to do at this point. The hardest part of painting this thing is just making sure that he was happy with it, and if he's happy, I'm happy.
Everything seems to be going over. The coverage looks great, the color looks great. I couldn't be happier with the finish. I think it's exactly what this motor needs to really set it off. Everything's looking great on the body so far, but now we need to get back to the frame, just pull off the wheels, start sanding it down the best we can, and prepping it for paint. More than likely this old frame was painted last with just some old rattle cam black paint. This time we're going to go ahead and mix up just a little base coat with some hardener. Basically just mix at a 50-50 ratio with a reducer, a little bit of hardener, and just start applying it with an HVLP spray gun. Pretty simple task, it dries pretty quick, it'll work exactly for what we need. This thing definitely looks a whole lot better than when we picked it up. We've got a good little sheen on the frame. Now the only thing that I think would make this look a little bit better is to move forward and get the old engine from the other frame transplanted onto the new one.
We're really getting close to the finished product on this thing now. I can see the finish line. Just got to hang on for this last little bit.
See what it does?
Let's see what she does.
The first time we removed this engine and transmission was a learning experience for us, and we were also pulling it out when the body was still onto the frame. So pulling it off just the frame here is going to be super simple. Keep going.
Yeah.
Pick it up, move it over to the other one, set it down. Shouldn't take no time. Guess we'll just try to see if we can go ahead and set it on the other frame.
Alrighty.
Hopefully moving this motor from this frame to the other frame, it'll be the last time we have to move it.
Which way do I need to go?
I think we're fine right now.
It's down.
Yep.
A little bit too far over on this side, on the passenger side. There you go.
Maybe we can get this thing knocked out pretty quick and get this thing back on the road.
Okay, we're good.
Cool. That wasn't too bad.
No?
Now just get it inside and up underneath that truck, I guess. Now that we've got this engine sitting on the frame, the next step is mounting the cab, which is really going to take this from just an old motor and chassis to a vehicle again. It's pretty close there. I don't know if we need to go forward or backwards. Hard to tell with it that far away. Let me grab these new bushings and set on there. Hockey pucks. Guess I'll go down a little bit.
All right.
Transferring this cab over to the new frame should go pretty quick. It was a pretty good challenge of having to cut off some bolts and that, taking it off.
As long as everything lines up on these cab mounts, we've got new bolts that'll put everything back together nicely. It should all sit level. Shouldn't be that big of a problem. How you looking back there?
Looking good back here.
Looks like I'm gonna have to go backwards with the frame.
Backwards and over this way just a little bit. Yep.
Oh, oh, oh.
Too much?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like I need to come forward to me. Try that. How's yours look? Close-ish?
Close-ish. Having a lift around the shop has been amazing. Back in the young days, whenever I could, we'd get together and we'd all try to just lift it straight up and try to move this cab off of a vehicle and that. And, you know, I'm paying for it now with the back.
Grab these bolts and fish them down through there so we know we're lined up.
Making sure everything is lined back up is really important on this, because whenever you go to set everything down, you want everything just to kind of just drop into place.
Yours line up?
Yeah, mine are in there.
Guess I'll go on down then. Cool. First time she's sitting on a new frame.
Yep.
Guess get everything snugged up. Front clip, huh?
Yep.
Looking pretty good. Getting everything tightened back in place went really easy, so now we're just on to the next step of mounting the front clip.
Once we get this front clip put back on it now, we'll actually be able to see how everything goes together, how everything looks, and I think it's going to make a big difference.
Not near as heavy without all the dirt.
Yeah.
I definitely hope that this front clip goes on a little easier than it come off. I feel like everything in the world fought me on removing it. Hopefully we got that frame rail back where it needs to be so the radiator support lands in place and everything mounts up fine. That's about got it. Seeing everything come together on the front end of this truck, it definitely helped that motor to be set off from when we cleaned it up before. We'd spent all that time on trying to get it up and running, all that time on trying to make it look pretty, but it just didn't match the engine compartment. Now we can check that off the list and be actually happy to open up the hood to show this truck to somebody, just to show them what it's got up underneath there. I think that's about got it.
I think so.
At least on the front end, other than finding a bed, which honestly may be the hardest part of all of it.
Right.
Looks so much shorter than what it did before,
Yeah.
for sure.
A lot shorter. Yep. So you want to go with a step side or fleet side?
No, definitely fleet side if we can find one. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, we could go with the step side, but And beggars can't be choosers at this point, so I know we'll probably definitely have to try to paint to match up the patina, because finding one with that perfect patina probably ain't gonna happen at all. I had a feeling that I was going to spend a lot of time trying to find a bed for this truck, and did exactly that. I mean, after moseying on Marketplace, after looking on Craigslist, even getting desperate and putting a post of "in search of" on all our social media platforms, wasn't having a whole lot of luck of finding a bed. And then I remembered a good buddy of mine who often deals in these old Ford trucks, so I reached out to him to see if maybe he might have something around there.
Finding parts for these old vehicles and that is a pretty good chore. Most people that have them don't want to turn loose of them. Lance is pretty good at locating things and negotiating a price on them and that. So I'm thinking that this is not going to be an issue. I just don't know whether it'll be a fleet side or a step side.
Tailgate's not perfect, but if you don't have one.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to tell a whole lot about the condition of this bed at this point. It's dark in here. There's a lot of stuff just all over the place. But in my opinion, I'm not going to be too picky. I mean, we've been spending a lot of time trying to find something, and if we can work a deal on this one, I'll make it work. So hopefully we'll be able to close a deal on it, because I'd love to take this bed home with us.
Is this the tiller?
I think so.
I think that maybe does everything.
It looks like it's in fairly decent shape in that. I really hate to steal the bed off of it and that, but I think he's got other plans for it.
I've known the owner, Sammy, of this truck for a long time now. He actually has an upholstery shop and deals with a lot of projects on and off. So on this truck, I believe he was wanting to go a different direction and wasn't exactly needing the bed anyways, which will work out great for us and hopefully help us close this deal. That's what ours looks like, but like I said, it works. I mean, you can feel it going in gear, but it'll only move with, which one, this one does?
No, this one is front.
Oh, that one, yeah. It won't move that, so something's broke up in there on ours. While we were here, we just kind of talked over things of what we needed on the truck we're working on and what he was willing to get rid of. So we were able to come home with a few extra items, including the steering column, some hinges, the taillight lenses, just some things we're going to have to be looking for in the future that we could possibly just bring home with us now. Yeah, that's going to be in our way there. At the end of the day, we were able to close the deal and even come home with a few extra parts.
It's a little bit rougher than what I thought it was, which in my opinion is better. It's actually going to match the cab pretty well.
We got to twist so I can get around.
As I'd mentioned before, Sammy owns an upholstery shop, so he was willing to go ahead and recover the seat for us, which will be a great advantage in the future and one more thing we can mark off the list. Now we just want to get this thing back to the shop, get it put on the truck, and see how it looks as a short bed. Well, you think put a little paint on it so at least matches a little closer? Obviously, we're going to have to do a lot of body work on it.
Yeah.
I ain't too particular though, because we're going to want to patina it up anyways, and the more dents and scratches it has, the better, I guess.
Right. But I mean, the color it is now is nowhere close to
Right,
matching,
not
so.
even the same family. My expectations of finding a bed with a patina that actually matched up to this truck were extremely low. And in this case, we've got white and we've got black. So I couldn't make myself just set the bed on the truck with it being black without just going around it real quick, adding a little white base on it, just to allow it to be in the family of colors that we're looking for. I'll mix up a little bit of sealer. We'll just Scotch-Brite it a little bit. Once again, the more imperfection it has, the better it'll be on matching up on that truck.
Right.
Just gonna spray this thing outside. If dirt and dust get into it, it's just gonna be all the good for us, because once again, we're trying to make a paint job look unperfect. There's dents and dings all along this bed that'll probably actually match up with the cab really well. At this point, I've just got some white sealer that I've put back from another project. I'm gonna spray that on there, leave all the damage. We'll come back later. I'll definitely have to add some patina, some different colors of just base coat here and there, just to finally dial it in, to get the look we're looking for, to make everything match. and look like this bed's been sitting out in the woods for over 50 years. I think at this point we're just going to go ahead and manhandle the bed back onto the frame. That way we can just kind of tweak it around and make sure everything lines up well.
This is the last heavy item that we should be putting up on there in that. So I'm hoping that this will all be over with and we'll get everything put back together, and it'll look great once it's done.
Something ain't quite right. Oh, we're sitting on that bolt there. I'm gonna have to come. Can't really see where the bolt holes are at.
I know for sure it needs to go forward.
That bolt right there that we couldn't get out is sitting right on the outside of the frame, so I'll have to go your way.
Okay.
Hang on just a second. Yeah, up in your way just a little bit.
I'm hung on something back here at the back.
I'm hoping everything on the rear of this frame is where it needs to be, because at this point it doesn't seem like anything's wanting to line up right. Yeah, hang on, I see what it is. We're about to fall off. Let me get this forklift out of the way.
This thing was a little bit of a struggle there at first. Everything was just kind of hanging.
I think that got it.
Don't say you ain't gonna get much closer up here.
No? Wow, that fits good, don't it?
But once we moved it around a little bit and shifted this and shifted that, this thing fit like a glove.
I didn't expect it to fit that good. Cool. It'll definitely look a lot better. Get some patina on here though. Sticks out like a sore thumb right now. But probably better than black, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Well guys, it's been a lot of hard work, but it's super rewarding to finally see this thing coming together. When we found this thing out in the woods and picked it up for only 200 bucks, we had no idea of what we were going to do with it, and definitely didn't know if it was ever going to run again. It's safe to say that this truck was definitely not destined for its grave. I mean, this thing has fought to stay alive the whole time, and now it's super cool to be able to take it to the next level. Having the wrong bed on it was just never going to look right for this truck, so the idea of chopping it down into a short bed only seemed right. God really blessed us with being able to find a factory short bed frame, as well as a factory fleet side bed, which was exactly what we were looking for. Now we still got a ton of work to move forward on this as far as adding patina to it, messing with the inside, our brakes. The list will just go on and on. But for right now, I'm definitely happy with the headway we've made, and I can't wait to show you guys what we have in store for it next. We hope that you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, and we'll see you on the next one.